It's almost been an entire year since the last Melty Blood Type Lumina patch, and seemingly out of nowhere, French Bread announced that they were going to be releasing a new patch, and, well, here it is. In this video, I'll be going over key changes for characters and system mechanics. This isn't going to be a detailed patch breakdown video, as I feel that I do not have the knowledge to tell you what every change means for every character, but I can give you a general idea, and I do encourage you to read the patch notes yourself in the description before watching the video. I'll have timestamps for each character if you just want to know about their changes, and then a timestamp to my thoughts on the patch at the end of the video. Without further ado, let's get right into it. The system mechanics have received several significant changes this patch. The first one I want to mention is in regards to recoverable health. Specials, EX specials, last arcs, and moon skills all cause the opponent to have more recoverable health. They also buffed heat, so now you recover health faster. With these two changes combined, the possibility of comebacks happening is a lot more likely now. Shield has once again been nerfed significantly. Damage scaling on all shield combos has been increased, meaning that if you get hit with a shield counter and you eat a combo, you're eating way less damage than you used to. To give you some perspective, before this patch, if you hit an optimal shield counter on your opponent, you'd easily be able to do high 3000s, low 4000s damage on your opponent. Now shield combos are having trouble breaking 3200. That's not the only nerf shield got. Now, shield B counter, the one where you teleport behind your opponent, if shielded, you can no longer counter it again, meaning that it is now 100% a true punish. To add on to that, whenever anything is a true punish on shield, yellow sparks will fly out of the shield to show that the opponent can do nothing to counter in any way. I'm a fan of the first change. Losing the shield RPS already sucks, but having to eat a full damage combo after losing the RPS was just the cherry on top. Now that it hurts slightly less, it's a much easier pill to swallow. I can't say the same about the B shield change. I already thought B shield wasn't a great option because if you knew they were going to B shield, you could air block it and then punish them. Also, when you would hit B shield on block, it was not advantage, and on hit, it was not advantage. It was not your turn if you landed a successful B shield. So now that it has even more weaknesses, I can confidently say that B follow-up is the worst shield follow-up in the game. I just don't understand why they want to keep nerfing it. It's not significantly strong. You really only get a position change out of it. With this nerf and making B shield so much worse, zoners have become much better as a result. And I'm not talking about specific zoners, I mean every zoner across the board is better because of these shield changes. Now, if you BC shield through their projectiles, or A shield or B shield them while they're trying to zone you, they're eating significantly less damage, they can shield your B counter, and they're just better overall. The last big system change I want to talk about is the change to moon skills. Moon skills are no longer a frame slower when outside of moon drive. The cost of using a moon skill has been decreased when it's cancelled into during a combo. This makes it so you can use moon skills in combos more often. Many moon skills in the patch have been buffed too to improve their combo ability, which shows that French Bread wants you to use moon skills in your combo, they want you to be getting more meter, and they want you to be getting more damage. And it's a change I can get behind, as it's now asking the player to be a little bit smarter with their resources if they want to get the most out of them. Although, I do think that it does make the game a little bit harder, considering that you have to have a little bit better execution to integrate these moon skills into your combos. The last change that isn't necessarily a system change, but more like a character-wide nerf, is rebeats on standing A and crouching A have been made worse. They're now slower by a frame or two, give or take. This is a direct nerf to pressure now that rebeats are slower and not as advantageous or less advantageous as they used to be. The character on offense is going to have to take more risks and play smarter, while the character on defense is going to have more opportunities to get out of sticky situations. I should also mention that there's been a universal change to 3C, the dedicated anti-air. Almost every character has had it buffed so it works a little bit better than it used to. The system changes for this patch both cover offensive and defensive mechanics. Most of the changes I think are a net positive for the game, although I do think the B shield changes are baffling to say the least. Though I know so many people hate shield, so I have to say overall for everyone who plays the game, it's a good change. I almost forgot to mention, the desync bug has been removed from online play. If you don't know what the desync bug is, if you skipped the intros at the beginning of an online match, it was very likely that for the first couple of seconds to the end of the first round, the match would experience connection issues. Now that is no longer the case. You can skip the intros, and this is probably one of the most welcome changes as someone who plays a ton of online. Let's also not forget that they added a ton of new stages in this patch, including alternates of currently available stages and 2 completely new stages, Neco-Arc Arena and Miyako's Dojo. These stages were actually already in the game in the boss rush mode, but they were never added to the selection pool until now. There is also a couple of new customization options based off of Type Lumina's official manga, Peace in Paradise, of which I've got a video right here for you to check out if you want to know more. That's all for system changes. Now let's talk about the characters. Starting off with the main man himself, Shiki Tohno. 22A received a rather significant change. It got both a buff and a nerf. Basically, the move's use has been changed completely. Shiki would kneel down, become invincible for a short period of time, and then appear behind his opponent in the air with a slash. The invincibility has been removed completely, but now he is able to get a combo on hit. This also applies to the moon skill version. Honestly, 22A was one of Shiki's most underused moves, so I can understand why they wanted to rework the move. I don't know how useful it will be in the long run, but I do like the change. The next change is in regards to his 214C, the EX slide. Previously, this move also didn't really have much of a real use. It was very niche, but now on block, it is completely safe and can be used for some real shenanigans. For example, if you use Boundary Peak 22B, that now can be made completely safe, which is great because 22B was one of Shiki's best moves because it is very punishable. Honestly, giving 214C more utility is just a great call. The last change I want to talk about is, in my opinion, the biggest one. 236C, the EX knife special, has been made faster, making it your go-to punish on invincible reversals or really anything with a lot of recovery. Due to the scaling, this was always one of Shiki's best starters, and now because it's faster, it can punish a lot more stuff, making his punish game significantly more threatening. With the system changes to moon skills, Shiki's combo game is a lot harder than it used to be. You're going to be wanting to integrate these moon skills into your combos, and believe it or not, Shiki has some pretty crazy combo routes that just go all over the place, use all of his tools. It's very demanding for a so-called beginner character. I think the nerfs to rebeat pressure are definitely going to hurt him in the long run. He is a character who relies on just doing rebeats and throwing in lows and just being generally tricky. He doesn't really have much of a crazy mix-up outside of maybe the unblockable, but even then that's a gimmick. So overall, I think he got some really good changes, but there's definitely some stuff lost there too. As a Shiki player myself, first and foremost, I can definitely say the changes make certain things more interesting, and you love to see more utility out of underused moves. Moving on to the true ancestor herself, Arcueid. She got some pretty interesting changes. The highlights here are 214C, the elbow super, getting anti-air property. That super was already good because of the amount of mix she can get off of it, so giving it anti-air property is something. In the long run, I don't really know how that's going to affect things, considering, you can always just shield stuff. There are more characters in the patch that got like more anti-air tools, and there have been buffs to 3C like discussed earlier, so I'm thinking they want to make anti-airing a little bit easier. Melty Blood traditionally not the easiest game to anti-air in, so I guess I can see where they're coming from. The craziest change she got, which I will say right now she absolutely did not need, is her jump C now is a cross-up button. Jump C was already an amazing air button, so giving it a cross up just makes her more scary. I think Arcueid is the only character in Melty Blood Type Lumina that has been buffed every patch, and it seems the trend is not stopping anytime soon. Moving on to Akiha Tohno, she's the only character in this patch who got a new move, but I haven't really seen anyone talk about it, so I don't know if it's really that big of a deal, but I thought it was worth mentioning. Her forward advancing special, 214A, has been given more distance. You can't really complain when your forward moving special gets more forward movement, you know? Definitely gonna help in those corner carry combos. The most interesting change I saw was that now some of her wheels will leave her in a counter hit state for longer. I guess they want to punish the sloppy use of wheel or Akiha players who are just being lazy. Once you kind of reach a level of skill with the character, you know when and when not to throw the wheels. So is this change really going to be that big of a nerf? Probably not, but at some point in time, on some day, it will help someone win a match, and I think that's all that matters. Honestly, I think Akiha is one of the characters who benefits from these system changes the most. Being able to use more moon skills and combos and them costing less off of cancels is great for her because she already has really high damage and really good moon skill combos. Just giving her more access to them means that she gets more damage, and then she gets more meter, so she can do more mix-ups, so she can do more EX wheels, so she can do more command grabs, so she can do more everything. And I think this patch just synergizes with her very well. Although I do speculate that she will be hurt by the rebeat changes in the long run, since she is a fairly short-ranged character. Ciel is a character that has always been solid, and she remains a solid pick if you just want to play fundamentals with a little bit of a projectile game. In my video about Ciel, I mentioned her 214C EX special move, which I like to call the Claw. If you hold the Claw down, Ciel will charge up and then, go flying forward like she's Wolverine or something. And this was just like the slowest move in the world. Now that's been buffed and it's not as slow and it beats low shield, so it has combo utility and it has some use. Is it practical? Not really. And does it really lead to anything crazy cool? I don't think so, but hey, they buffed the Claw, so that's pretty cool. And there was really no reason to ever use it unless you were just screwing around, so good change. The moon skill version of Halo, which was Ciel's go-to overhead, has been made faster so it can be better used as an overhead. That's definitely a good change. And then the other big moon skill change was to her black key throw, which gives it more combo ability in general. And, makes sense. I'm going to keep saying it the entire video. They want people to use moon skills, they're buffing moon skills, they're making them cost less, and they want people to get more creative with their combos, so they're giving characters the tools that they would need to do that. Ciel still remains a relatively strong character. With the shield nerfs too, all zoners are more powerful now, so that means keys are better, so I would not be surprised if we saw more Ciel in the future. Get your brooms and dusters ready because we are entering the Maid Zone. Starting with solo Hisui, two of her best normals have been buffed, 5C and 2C. They got their movement distance increased, so that's just going to make them all around stronger frame trap tools and stronger with block string pressures and rebeats. Hisui's projectile has always been more of a space control tool over a zoning tool, but with this change, it has become a significantly stronger projectile. Now when Hisui throws the plate, it flies much faster. To quote the patch notes, faster plate velocity, and they were not kidding. This thing zooms by. Being able to cover that horizontal ground space with the plate is going to make her significantly stronger and make the Maids Duo by extension much better as well. The last change I want to mention is to her EX Dust Cloud. It's apparently been made to work better as an anti-air and a combo tool. Another tool improved specifically so a character would have a better anti-air option. Besides the amazing flying plate, most of Hisui's changes have been quality of life ones, but that makes sense. Hisui is a character, like many others, that really didn't need anything major. Time for maid number 2, it's Kohaku. Kohaku got a huge glow up this patch. Besides Shiki, Kohaku is the other character I play in this game, so I can speak with a little more experience about how good these changes actually are. First and foremost, her 5C, 2B, and 5B got hitbox buffs, and her 5C has been made more consistent, so it's kind of harder to get away from. It's a two-part move. She does the stick out and then the twirl. It was kind of weird, it's still kind of weird, and the aforementioned 2B and 5B, you can definitely feel that they reach a little bit farther now. Her 236 series has been improved in general. It's easier to use, and the thing that made me scratch my head the most was, apparently, and this was not intentional, everyone thought it was intentional, there was a bug where if it clashed, sometimes the move would be impossible to cancel. It's been like that since release, so to have it fixed this late in the game is definitely a surprise, but a welcome one. The last thing to cover would be Kohaku's exclusive special move when not in the Maids Duo, the Molotov Cocktail. It's been made faster overall and just feels a lot better to use. For those unaware, the Molotov is a high-risk, high-reward tool that if she gets you to block a Molotov, she gets to reset her turn, but if it's shielded, well, it's not going to end well for you. The moon skill version of Molotov was also buffed, making it faster, shrinking the hurt box, and just making it overall better. Apparently also it was not doing the damage it was intended to be doing, which I find really funny. One of Kohaku's big drawbacks is that she had very mediocre damage, but now with the changes to Molotov, making them easier to use in combos, and the changes to the moon skill system in combos, her combo game has leveled up. That being said, the character still, is not like the most amazing character in the game. Is she bottom one? No, but is she a struggle to play sometimes? Oh, most definitely. As a Kohaku player for the last couple of months, experiencing these problems with the character and just getting these quality of life changes just feels so great, and over the two characters I play, I feel like she definitely beat out Shiki in terms of buffs, and I think she's one of the bigger winners this patch. On the topic of maids, the last thing to talk about would be the Maid Duo. Not much has changed for the duo, but you have to keep in mind that the changes listed for Hisui and Kohaku apply to the duo character, so everything I said there applies here, although there was one really big thing. Now, when Kohaku is in control and Hisui is in the background, you can pick what item Hisui will throw. Previously, you could not do that. That was something only solo Hisui could do. Now, duo mates could do it, giving them a much better zoning game. This character is interesting because they're not really a character on their own. Yes, they do have a Rolodex of amazing Okizeme options that the other two maids solo just can't compete with, but at their core, the fundamental of the maid's character is built off of solo Hisui and solo Kohaku. So whenever those two characters get buffed, the maid duo gets buffed as well, and they gotta kind of play it in a certain way, and I think that if not kept in check, this character one day could end up being incredibly strong. Next up is Mr. Swiss Army Knife himself, Kouma Kishima. Kouma received a significant nerf on his 2-2C EX special move, Godly Armor. On hit, the duration of the armor effect is significantly decreased. Now, this wasn't like a move they'd use in combos. Generally, you would see Kouma do this at the end of a combo to hit on Oki as an OTG, and then they would have to wake up and be forced to block the Godly Armor. Kouma has setups where the Kouma players are already finding them where they can activate the Godly Armor off of a knockdown, not have it OTG, and then have you block it anyway. I think a change like this is good because it makes the character a little less brain dead, and that might be a little controversial, but I always did feel like the fact that he could do his combo, get his knockdown, and then OTG you with his super, and then, oh, now I gotta block for like a couple of seconds and I just can't hit him because he has crazy armor and he is like a wall coming towards me to crush me to death in the corner. I'm not very surprised that they nerfed it, and I don't think he'll be reeling too much from this because he got some other really good changes. The one I want to highlight here is to his Rekka series, the Triple Comet. The Triple Comet in general has had shortened recovery, more active frames, and again, generally more usability on both the normal, EX, and Moon Skill versions. This gives Kouma the ability to play at ranges that previously he kind of could, but it was a little more of a risk, or maybe couldn't in general. That moon skill, triple comet, man. Playing this game for a year, playing against the character, he's very top tier, so you get used to playing against him, and him coming at you with this tool that, you know, he really didn't like use as liberally was definitely like a jump scare, you know? But it's really cool. I like that he's been given more options on the Rekka because I'm a Kyoku Zanagi player in KOF, and I think Rekkas are really cool, and I'm completely biased. Other than that, there is a listed change for 2B, his anti-air, and it's like, oh, let's see what it says exactly. Added recovery. This move barely has any more recovery. I read somewhere that it was only 1 frame. He can still sit on top of you in the corner and spam the heck out of this move, hitting you out of the air, and you can't hit him back because it is just so good, and it's one of the best anti-air buttons in the game. It's just really funny. Kouma is definitely still the top tier monster with almost any option around, but now he just can't really OTG you and do certain other things. And with the changes to moon skill, he's going to be hitting you a lot harder with some crazy cool moon skill combos. From one martial artist to the next, we have Miyako. If there's one phrase you can use to describe Miyako's changes in this patch, it is increased movement distance, because man oh man, if you look at those patch notes, so many of her moves have had increased movement distance. Unfortunately, I'm not really familiar with Miyako or really how she's feeling in this version of the game, mostly because I don't ever see Miyako ever. Mainly, I think, because back, I think 2 patches ago, she got hit with some pretty significant nerfs, and it seems like they're really trying to compensate for that now. Even though I really don't have experience with the character, and I can't tell you like, oh, well, you know, it's great that this move got this, and it's great that this move got that. Objectively looking at it and looking at the patch notes, she just got a lot of good stuff, and hopefully we're going to be seeing more Miyakos, because if you didn't know, like Akiha, Miyako has some really scary moon skill combos, moon drive combos, and again, like a broken record, with the changes to moon skill, she's gonna be doing the damage like no one's ever seen before. There's nothing wrong with a little character variety, so maybe Miyako can finally get that comeback she needs. Like Shiki, she is a character that will be hurting from the reverse beat changes because she's very short range, and she's very all about staying on top of you and using block strings to stay in and using her multitude of special moves to stay plus and stay in. So because those rebeats are worse now, it's going to be a little harder for her to do that. On to nun number 2, Noel. 2 of her most significant tools, Heavy Punishment and Heavy Thrust, were buffed to make them easier to use and easier as pokes. Heavy Punishment is the move where she jumps forward with the overhead swing, and Heavy Thrust is the start of her Rekka series. Her black key throws can now be jump cancelled, giving her more combo and pressure opportunities. And her overhead on 2-2A has been made faster in an effort to make it a better option for opening people up. She did catch one nerf, however, and I think it's pretty significant. It's on her 2-2B, which is her reversal, her invincible reversal, unmetered, and it's been made slower, meaning that when you use it to get out of certain things, it's going to lose more often than not. They're going to be able to block in time. Noel is really just getting most of the changes that other characters have gotten. Their useful tools are being made more useful. She's getting more combo ability on things, but I did find it strange that they decided to take a shot at her invincible reversal, considering it already like wasn't one of the better invincible reversals. I mean, it's good that she has it. I'm not saying it's like a Kohaku or Hisui situation where they don't even have real reversals. It's great that she has it, but it was slow, and now it's even slower. That's definitely gotta hurt. The man, the myth, the legend himself, Honest Mids Michael Roa. He did catch some nerfs here, but I don't think they're going to be a problem in the long run. The first and most notable nerf is the nerf to his ground throw. Now, on ground throw, he's not right on top of the opponent, and they're pushed much further away, so he can't get the same like left-right mix-ups that he used to be able to, but he can still get safe jumps and stuff. So his throw is now significantly less scary than it used to be. Timeless Thunder Needle's damage has been nerfed. If you're not going for like the good routes, you are doing significantly less damage. But that's the thing, they only touched the damage on Timeless Thunder Needle. The damage was a good aspect of what made Timeless Thunder Needle good, but it still has everything else that used to be good about it. Now it just does a little less. It hurts a little less. And, you know, besides losing that throw stuff mid-screen, I think he's completely fine. I still think he's top tier. They didn't, like, nerf him into the ground. They didn't send him off Mount Olympus or anything. I think he's perfectly fine, and I think with the moon skill changes, it's incentivizing people to use more moon skills and combos, which means that Roa is going to be getting moon skill damage. He's going to be getting that meter refunded to him because he's canceling it. That means he's going to get more meter. And of course, that means more EX Timeless Thunder Needles, which means more blocking, which means more opportunities for Roa to mix you up. Next up on the creepy vampire men, we've got Mr. Fire and Ice himself, everyone's favorite zoner in Type Lumina, Vlov. Now, I know people don't like playing against this character. This character was a demon for many within the first year of this game's life, but trust me when I tell you that this buff was 100% justified. A lot of characters in this patch got their universal anti-air buffed, none more so deserving than Vlov himself. Vlov's 3C has a really cool animation. He shoots up like a pillar of light and, you know, just cool looking, yeah? It was probably like one of the most misleading looking 3Cs in the game because, man, was this thing just not great at doing what it was supposed to do. You know, even though Vlov, really strong character, shocking how often that move would trade or clash not in his favor. Now it's been buffed to be way more consistent. They increased the active frames like every other 3C, but the hitbox now hits higher, so you can't just fly above Vlov and not get hit with the 3C. Now the animation will match the hitbox, which I think everyone can agree it should have been like that in the first place. Vlov has also received a generous buff to his projectiles. Now the cancelable time on hit has been increased. His projectiles are going to give him better reward on hit. He's going to be getting more damage. He's going to get meter from his moon drive combos. Vlov is most certainly one of the winners of this patch. Red-Arc got some changes to her normals. Before the patch, apparently they were having problems getting low profiled or just not hitting people low to the ground using certain moves. That's been fixed now, and a number of her buttons have had their hitboxes expanded downward so that they'll hit those low profiling moves. Other than that, her throw has been buffed. Now she recovers a lot faster. She can now chase the throwdown and push her offense. The last change I want to mention is to her air moon skill Fireball. It can be now used at lower heights and is generally easier to use, really opening up Red-Arc's combo game. Over the past week of this patch, out of all the discussions of all the characters, Red-Arc was surprisingly one of the characters I saw the most of, and people were just posting some really cool combos. Red-Arc was already a strong character, and I'm very interested to see how the Red-Arc players are going to take these buffs and use them. And we've finally reached the last main roster character. It's the main heroine of Fate, Saber. Saber has one of the coolest buffs out of anyone in the entire patch, and I may have said that before, but I really mean it here. Saber has two arc drives, Excalibur and Avalon. In this patch, Avalon has been buffed in a very interesting way. Avalon is an all-purpose counter that counters almost everything in the game, but it costs 3 bars and doesn't do as much damage as Excalibur, so that was really the trade-off you had there. In this patch, Avalon now heals Saber for about 1,800 damage. And we're not talking about recoverable health either, this is straight health right to her life bar. Avalon is more of a threat now than it ever was, and now Sabers are going to be more justified in going for it because they could get some nice health back as a bonus. The next change I wanted to discuss is in regards to her C buttons. Most of them have been buffed so that they have increased movement distance and shortened recovery, or faster startup, or more active frames. These were some of Saber's farthest reaching buttons, and it's going to help her in the long run. The last change I want to talk about is in general. A lot of her stuff has been made faster or the recovery has been reduced. Overall, it seems like they want Saber to be faster than she used to be, which makes sense. Saber is a lot like Shiki in that she wants to be in your face. She wants to be running strike throw, high low, going just crazy, doing plus frame dive kicks, and just putting that pressure on. And these buffs are definitely going to let her fight in your face more, and now you gotta worry about healing her if you hit her counter while also eating 3000 damage. Now we're getting into the DLC section, and we're gonna start with one of the most underplayed characters in Type Lumina, Dead Apostle Noel. Dead Apostle Noel's 6 BC has been buffed, so now she can jump canceling it, letting her get better combos, and it being a moon skill means it's going to be much easier for her to use it, it's going to be much cheaper for her to use it, and what does that mean? More meter, more damage, just better overall. A lot of her moves are now faster or have reduced recovery. The craziest buff here has to be the change to her DP, which has been made faster. Now, the reason why that's crazy is because DA Noel has one of the most annoying DPs in the game because it pushes you away on block. So you're not going to be in range to punish it, and you have to do a little bit of a micro walk forward or a dash forward to punish it. It's a knowledge check. And now that it's faster, it's going to be even more real as a reversal option. And you know, I'm thinking now and realizing, DA Noel had her DP buffed. Regular Noel had her DP nerfed. What a world we live in, huh? DLC number 2, everyone's favorite magician, Aoko Aoizaki. Her charge, Jumping C, the foot laser, has been buffed, so now it can be cancelled, making it a much better combo tool. The orbs overall, both placed and set, have been buffed so they stay around longer, and now when you're hit with an orb, there's a lot more untech time, giving Aoko more time to confirm into a combo. Orbs did, however, receive one nerf. The set orbs, which is the orb that Aoko puts out by pointing on the screen, and then the ones you have to hold down to keep out. If she blocks while those orbs are out and she's not holding down that button, those orbs will disappear. This is going to hurt her Oki game, but it's not going to destroy it. She just has to play a lot smarter with her set orbs, and it's not like the end-all be-all of Oki's MA options. She has to play a little bit smarter. This change is a lot like the 2-2C Godly Armor nerf on Kouma, so they're just making it so Aoko has to be a little bit more careful when she uses the set orb. And I just want to reiterate, this is only for the set orb, not the placed orb that moves across the screen. Those are unchanged. Besides that one nerf though, Aoko got a ton of buffs, which is very surprising, considering in both regions, NA and Japan, she is considered to be one of the best characters in the game, and she just got so much better. It's gonna be crazy to see how this is going to affect the meta. Most of Mario's buffs revolve around buffing the nuns, which makes sense, that's one of Mario's main tools. And overall, the nuns have just been made better, they've gotten better hitboxes, their hurt boxes have been shrunk, some invincibility has been increased on certain moves. All around, the nuns are just better. Mario's anti-air special move was given a better hitbox, which is going to make approaching him a lot harder. I can't really speak much on the validity of the changes given to Mario because I don't play him, and he's a bit of a complex character, being a pseudo striker puppet type character, you know. But what I do know is I saw someone on Twitter post a 50-50, which apparently he did not have before. So hey, all Mario players can look forward to doing 50-50, and everyone else can look forward to flipping a coin. Next up is Type Lumina's most infamous character and what many think is the best character in the game, Powered Ciel. Before the patch was revealed to us and we knew what the changes were going to be, a lot of people wanted this character nerfed into the ground, and I'm going to tell you right now, that did not happen. The only real nerf she got was her jumping 3B now has more recovery on whiff and block. Other than that, almost every one of her tools in some way, in some form, have been buffed. It's ludicrous because it's the complete opposite of what people were expecting. It's honestly kind of funny. The change that stands out to me is they did a lot of work buffing her lightning move, which was definitely not something I guess you saw often, but that was just because Powered Ciel has so many good tools that she really didn't need to use it outside of specific combos. And even though she's one of the best characters in the game, I could stand behind a change like that. That makes things slightly more interesting. Although, again, her other tools got buffed, so really, who knows how useful this change is going to be in the long run until we see it in action. Honestly, I don't know how to feel about the Powered Ciel buffs. On one hand, there were some tools that I wanted to see toned down that didn't get toned down, but I also think that there was a really big overreaction from the community, specifically the NA community. I get that she's like super top tier and is very annoying to fight with certain characters. Even so, I didn't want to see this character torn down completely and not be usable like some people were requesting. There is some real hatred for this character, and I 100% get it, but I also think there's more constructive ways to look at things. Would I have buffed a ton of powered Ciel's tools? Probably not. The discourse between NA and Asia about this character was also pretty funny. I remember specifically seeing a Japanese player say something like, oh, we have to make a guide for powered Ciel because the NA players are losing their minds right now. And they were, because we got 4 more years of powered Ciel, baby. So if you can't beat them, join them. Neco-Arc's changes are fairly simple to go over. Now, depending on the luck level that she has, the clones that she can spawn will now attack with more frequency. So whenever the extra Neco-Arcs come out, it's more likely now that they're going to fight for you instead of just, standing around, dancing, or just going away. And the second significant change is now when she lands either of her arc drives, her luck level will increase by 1 level. If you don't understand what I just said, basically, Neco-Arc works on a luck level she has, and at different luck levels, she gets better and better summons, and the chance of Saber coming out, or Arc coming out, or getting the super armor food, stuff like that. And I think that's a really interesting way to buff the character. I'm surprised she didn't have a way to increase her luck level. Other than those changes, she got a ton of consistency changes like a bunch of the other characters, and a lot of people look down on this character because she's Neco-Arc, and Neco-Arc has a bit of a reputation now because she's a funny meme cat on the internet. Out of all the characters in Type Lumina, I think she has some of the most sauce out of any character. She's surprisingly technical, and French Bread did a great job at making her an interesting character, and buffs like these are just going to further legitimize Neco-Arc. We are now officially in the Fate Go section of the video. Abandon all Tsukihime who enter here. Mash has been buffed so that her normals are better at fighting at a distance. For example, her 2B is a lot better and it can be better used to catch air dashes. Her shield charge can now be cancelled on clash, which it was not able to do before, so if it clashed with something, she would just lose. Really weird choice for a move that, she's charging through the neutral with her shield. Do you think that would have a little bit more protection? Now it does, and makes it a real threat in neutral. Like Arcueid, her 236C has been given anti-air properties, which is always nice to have. Other than that, she got a bunch of hitbox changes, which she definitely needed, and I think these are welcome changes for MASH. It still doesn't really fix some of the problems of her character. She's still very linear, but these normal changes are going to go a long way in making her better than she used to be. Ushiwakamaru's big changes revolve around her recovery and the speed of things. A lot of her key normals have had their recovery shortened, and a lot of her special moves have been made faster. This makes a lot of sense because Ushiwakamaru is a very mobile character. She does a lot of zooping around the screen, running around, doing crazy moves, so it makes sense you want to make her faster. She definitely was on a bit of the slow side. I'm not exactly sure if these are the changes that Ushiwakamaru players wanted though. I still think she's going to struggle on the weaker side alongside some of her other Fate Go counterparts. We'll just have to wait and see how things develop. Finally, we have the last character in Type Lumina, the Count of Monte Cristo, Edmond Dantes. One of Monte Cristo's key normals, Jumping C, has been made so that the hitbox is more consistent. It was moved downwards, so now it works better as a jump-in. It would whiff in some really strange situations. It didn't match the animation, and now it does. His pressure extender on 22C, Revenge is Mine, has been made more difficult to move away from, which I don't know if that means it has more plus frames or it just pulls you closer, there's not as much knockback. They're not very clear with it. The biggest change to Monte Cristo has to do with his arc drive. Now it goes much farther, much faster, meaning it can combo off of things it used to not be able to. Most importantly, his fireball. From about 70% of the screen, if he hits a fireball and he has arc drive, he can combo into it. The overhead ender to his Rekka series was made faster, but it leaves a lot to be desired because I still feel like his Rekka series is still, in general, just too slow to be a real major threat. The same could be said for his buttons. They are all still really slow, and the only one that received any sort of speed increase was his sweep. The changes Monte Cristo got are welcome, but I still feel like he's going to struggle and needs more major changes in the future to really be any sort of threat. but at the very least, you cannot deny that the Count of Monte Cristo is a cool character. And that was Melty Blood Type Lumina, patch 1.45. Other than the B shield change, I think this patch is fantastic. Characters' tools have been buffed so they can be more usable, combo expression is now much better thanks to the moon skill change, and no character really got destroyed. The big winners for this patch, I think, are Kohaku, Red Arcueid, Saber, Aoko Aoizaki, Powered Ciel, and Vlov. I like what French Bread is going for in this patch. They're giving good quality of life changes to tools that characters really like using without taking away the disadvantages of playing such a character. So, for example, I play Kohaku. One of Kohaku's biggest disadvantages is she has no reversal, and they didn't really fix that this patch, which they shouldn't, because Kohaku is a character who has a very scary Oki game that can vortex into itself. Nothing in this patch is really that confusing or made me scratch my head, except maybe giving Arcueid a cross-up. I don't think anyone was asking for that. Even the powered Ciel buffs I don't think are that bad. Although you'd be silly if you didn't think she was top 3 or the best character in the game right now. Even with the buffs that characters have gotten this patch, I still think the top tiers are relatively the same. You've got your powered Ciels, you've got your Aoko, you've got Roa, who I think is fine, you've got Kouma, of course, and then you've got Akiha. Characters like Ushiwakamaru and Monte Cristo definitely still need some help, but it's obvious French Bread wants to play it safe with the nerfs and the buffs. I wouldn't mind seeing another patch like this, although I fear the next time we'll be talking about a Melty Blood Type Lumina patch will be May 2025. Which is a shame because unironically I think this is one of the best and most fun fighting games on the market. Those were my thoughts on the newest Melty Blood Type Lumina patch. Let me know if I got anything wrong. I'm definitely not an expert on every character, especially characters like Miyako or Noel, which I'll be honest, again, I really don't know much about because I haven't played them or played against them in literal eons. I'm happy with the changes my characters got. Are you happy with the changes your characters got? Did they not get enough? Were you hoping maybe Roa and PCL would get nerfed more? Were you expecting something a little bit more substantial? And please don't say new characters because they told us we weren't going to get new characters. But I feel you. Until next time, have a great day and goodbye for now.